Hello, and welcome to The Governors, a series of conversations with the past district governors of Rotary District 6690. Today I have the privilege of speaking with Nelson French via Zoom from the Rotary Club of Columbus, who was district governor during the 1987-1988 Rotary year. Good morning, Nelson, and thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Nelson, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I was raised in Columbus, specifically Upper Arlington, where we now have a Rotary Club, didn't then. and went to Ohio State for 1 year, then went to West Point, and was in the Army for about 6 years. Came out, went to work at Battelle Research Organization, the world's largest, and was there for about 4 or 5 years, and then left to start my own company with a partner in the electrical equipment distribution business. And I ended up being ultimately the sole owner of it and spent my whole career in that.
Nelson, how were you introduced to Rotary?
We were just, our new company was just a few months old, and you may remember the old calculators back in the day before computers. The Marchant area manager for Marchant came in to try to sell me a calculator, and in the process he was a Rotarian, and he introduced me to Rotary, and bingo, from there on.
What club service or projects were you involved with that kept your interest in the Rotary Club of Columbus when you first joined?
Well, based on the West Point education, where service, of course, is a big item, and leadership as well, the opportunities for service appealed to me. And one of the first projects I got involved with was it was at Neal Avenue in Columbus at the time, a school for severely handicapped kids. And Rotary had started an annual Christmas party for them. It's no longer at Neal Avenue, but it's still going on. It's a 100-year-old program now, and amazing. And to deal with those kids, we went in and had given them gifts and helped them unwrap them and so on. Just to see those severely handicapped kids deal with life was a real challenge. Then I became involved. Our club became concerned with what was happening in terms of the non-education of students about the free enterprise system. So we thought we had to do something about that, and we organized what became Camp Enterprise, which in our version was a 4-day seminar for high school rising seniors, and in a camp setting. And we had all kinds of presentations to them, including how I started a business, which happened to be how I first got involved. And I got really involved with that. That went on for several years, and then we started promoting it around Ohio. Portsmouth took it up, so did Newark, and Cleveland, something similar. So then we developed a tape slide presentation. This was before the days of what we're doing now. Tapes and slides were the big deal. We recruited a local disc jockey to narrate it, and had a bunch of slides of the camp. And I ended up taking that around the country. I took it to Milwaukee Club, to Denver, to several others, including Toronto, Canada, and they all undertook it. And we sent it as well to several other places, including San Diego, which incidentally, you may not know, was the #2 club in Rotary. It was the first one after Chicago. And they took it up as well, and ultimately it ended up at about 20 or 25 Rotary clubs. So the Columbus Club ended up getting 3 Freedoms Foundation awards for it, and then we got a 4th one for this program to spread it across the country and into Canada. So that was a great experience.
Tell me about your year as club president.
was president in 75, 76, and I was intrigued with trying to get Rotarians to understand what they could realize out of Rotary, which I felt was the rewards of service. And I called it the warm fuzzies from Rotary. And Dave Ellis, who was an industrial designer in our club, created a little figure for me of warm fuzzies. This is it.
Oh, you have a picture there.
That's the warm fuzzies figure, including a Rotary badge. And so I took that around the district with me.
How did you become involved in district level events?
I got interested in the group study exchange program. At that time, of course, there were not yet women in Rotary. And so at that time, non-Rotarians between the age of 25 and 35 could apply. We had 20-some applicants. We chose what we thought were the top 5. My assignment was in the District 121 in the Midlands of England. And at that time, it was a 6-week program. So we went over there and each of us lived separately each week with a different Rotary host family. And they took us around to various businesses and cultural events and so on throughout the district. And in a week's time, you can become pretty good friends with folks. And one of the great carryovers for all of us was lifetime relationships. Emmy and I took several trips back over there. We B&B'd Scotland with the couple that had been in charge of the program over there. One time we B&B'd Wales, another time with them. And I had close contacts with 5 out of my 6 hosts for years and years and years afterwards. So it was a great experience. Interesting sidelight, we always think of England as being very rainy in the spring. The first drop of rain we saw was the next to last day in Coventry, England. So we lucked out somehow. But that was a great event, and part of it was a week of where you could contact people in your own business. And so I had some good experiences talking to electrical distributors in England. And the guys, these 5 guys were really top-notch young men. And it was and I'm still in touch with a couple of them.
Nelson, what induced you to become district governor?
It's the opportunity for more service and leadership. Simple.
That's it, just to be motivational and offer your leadership skills.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Were there any surprises or achievements during your year as district governor?
I had an interesting experience. Just as I was coming in as governor, Rotary had just started to introduce women. And so I had the opportunity to go down to Athens, where the Athens Club was inducting the first 2 ladies in our district. Interestingly enough, one of them was Dr. Sushi Gawande, who was the wife of Dr. Ram Gawande, who later became a district governor himself. They were immigrants from India and wonderful, wonderful people. And I stayed lifelong friends with them.
Oh, Ram was wonderful. I was an assistant governor his year as district governor, and he's the one who secretly motivated me to go on to become a district governor too. So super guy.
But the real focus of my year was Polio Plus. That was the beginning year of the Polio Plus program. It was announced at our district governor's training seminar, and I really got into that and thought it had enormous potential. It was interesting, Evanston developed a set of monetary goals for each district, and they sent us a listing of suggested amounts for every club in the district, which totaled $568,000. I got the district committee together one Sunday over in Cambridge, and I said, look, guys, and I'm sure every other district governor did the same thing. We know our district better than Evanston does. Let's ignore their numbers and come up with our own suggested goals for each club. We did. For example, they had both Columbus and Newark for too little. They had Malta-McConnellsville for too much. And so we reworked them, and our total wasn't 568, it was 871,000. And we ended up raising almost 2 million. So that that was very rewarding. Interestingly enough, at the international convention in May, toward the end of my Rotary year, the Tuesday morning session was to give the results of that campaign, the goal of which worldwide had been 120 million. And they had, it was a big arena with a balcony, and they had electric light bulbs strung around the railing of this thing, and each one represented, I think, $800,000. And as the different areas of Rotary, 7 of them worldwide, were announced, they would light up these bulbs representing that amount. Well, they got to where all of them, and there was a big rocket up on the stage, so we knew we'd made it. But when they announced all but North America, all the lights were already lit. So we knew it was going to be a big deal. So then they announced North America, which was roughly 120 million just by itself. So the total raise was over 240 million, more than double the worldwide goal. So that was really, everybody there, of course, had worked pretty hard on it. There weren't a lot of dry eyes in the place, certainly including Emmy's and mine. A lot of people, Shane, didn't understand the plus, why it was called Polio Plus. The reason was, and it's proved true through the years of the polio campaign, that the same efforts that get the polio vaccine around the world can take other vaccines and solutions as well. So there are other diseases, and several other diseases have been substantially impacted, even though the primary target is polio.
So they were looking at things like tuberculosis or measles or mumps and other vaccines as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what the 5 were. That's a function of my age. but yeah, there were 5 other diseases that were tag-alongs, if you will. The biggest surprise was a non-Rotary event. When I was on this group study exchange, one night about 11 o'clock, we had come back from the evening's activities, and I was in their lounge, or what we would call a den, with my host couple. We were having a glass of sherry for bed, and there was a phone call, and my host got up to answer it, came back, said, "It's for you." And it was my son, who was running the company in my absence, telling me that our newest branch in Newark had a almost to the ground fire, which was a substantial personal experience. And he and I talked it through, your tendency to think, wow, I got to go home right now, which I obviously couldn't do. So we worked through it, but that was the biggest single shock of the year.
Who at Rotary inspires you the most, Nelson?
Oh, too many to pick any one. Chuck Keller, who was the president the year I was governor, was certainly one, with the theme that you referred to. Tom Fitzpatrick, who was a Columbus Rotarian and was district governor 5 years ahead of me, was a great inspiration. I was his district conference chairman. We had it at Salt Fork State Park, and Tom, being Irish, we built it on an Irish theme, told everybody to wear green and so on. And that conference was remembered. When I get around the district, some older Rotarians will refer to it because they remember it. The Friday luncheon we had held by the pool there at Salt Fork State Park, and we had a couple members who were executives at White Castle. And so they sent a refrigerated van over White Castles, and so our lunch was White Castles by the pool. People forever remember that. We also had a Rotarian, Dave Murphy, who obviously was Irish, and he had a quartet that did Irish songs called the Irish Brigade. So that fit right in with Tom Fitzpatrick. So we had a good time between the Irish and White Castles.
Nelson, what is your vision for Rotary in the years and decades to come?
I struggle with that one. The aspect of vision, I think it's more meeting the challenges I think the challenges of carrying Rotary forward and expanding it are just enormous. Um, in the developed countries like ours, aging is a major problem. Finding improved ways to attract young people with the diversity of things there are to do. Back when I joined, life wasn't nearly as complex as it is today. There weren't as many tugs and pushes and shoves on your personal time, other than earning time, as there are today. And I think in the developed countries, that's a considerable problem. The effects of the internet, how we keep adapting to that, and the changes in technology in general are going to be serious problems. The complexity of life and the environmental challenges are all going to be things that we may be as caught up in dealing with those and developing ourselves in the face of those as we are with additional visions.
Nelson, thank you for the time that you've spent with us today and sharing your insights and your stories. And we really appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
I can't close without thanking you for the time you're spending on all this. It's an enormous contribution.
Oh, no problem whatsoever.
This concludes today's installment of The Governors. We thank you for tuning in and hope to see you on our next show.